I've been a cop in a quiet southern county for close to 15 years now. Long enough to see more than my fair share of strange calls, broken families, violent drunks, and the occasional tragedy that sticks to you like a shadow. People often ask me what the scariest call I've ever been on was, and the truth is, it isn't the armed robberies or even the domestic violence calls that leave me awake at night. It's one particular night, one stretch of road we locals call the Silent Mile. The name wasn't official. It wasn't on any map. But every officer in our department knew it. A 1-mile stretch of cracked asphalt that cut through a wall of thick pine woods. No streetlights, no houses. Just endless black trees pressing in on either side like prison walls. It was close to 3 a.m. when I got dispatched out there. The radio crackled with a call that a motorist had reported a stalled vehicle, hazard lights blinking in the middle of the mile. Normally, that would be routine. Go check if the driver needs a tow, maybe keep traffic from rear-ending them. But traffic at 3 a.m. on the Silent Mile, that was rare enough to set my nerves humming before I even hit the gas. The drive out was quiet. Too quiet. Nights on patrol are usually filled with background noise. The occasional semi on the highway, dogs barking in the distance, someone's music bleeding faintly from a backyard party. But that night the world felt muted. When I turned onto the Silent Mile, I flicked my high beams on and there it was, a black sedan sitting dead center in the lane, hazard lights ticking rhythmically. Tick, tick, tick. The kind of sound that feels like it's drilling into your skull when the night is otherwise still. I slowed the cruiser, pulled up behind the car and called in my location. Protocol, always protocol. Dispatch, 214, out with a stalled vehicle on County Road 7. No visible occupants. My headlights washed over the car. Driver's door closed. No movement inside. The windows were tinted, but I leaned a little, trying to catch a silhouette. Nothing. I stepped out, my boots crunching on gravel. The night air was cold enough to mist my breath. I adjusted my belt, rested my palm on the butt of my sidearm and approached. "Police department," I called. "Anyone inside need assistance?" No answer. Just the click-click of those hazards. When I reached the driver's side, I shone my flashlight through the glass. The car was empty. No purses, no jackets, no phone chargers, no signs of anyone. The driver's seat was pushed back like someone tall had been sitting there, but otherwise it looked sterile. I tried the handle. It opened. Now this is the part of the story where people always tell me I should have walked away, and maybe they're right. But when you're in uniform, curiosity isn't just curiosity, it's duty. If something's wrong, it's on you to figure it out. I leaned in. The first thing that hit me was the smell. It wasn't gasoline or engine trouble. It was foul, thick, like meat left out in the sun. My stomach tightened instantly. The glove box was hanging slightly open. A thin stack of papers poked out, stained dark. I pulled one free with my gloved hand. It was a napkin, blood-soaked, dried stiff. I backed out quick and radioed again. "Dispatch 214, I've got a vehicle, no driver, blood present. Requesting another unit. Copy 214, sending backup." I should have stayed by the cruiser, waited for my partner, but the woods on either side of that road suddenly felt alive, pressing closer, and I could swear I heard movement. A twig snapping, faint shuffling like something pacing just beyond the tree line. I raised my light, aimed it into the darkness. "Sheriff's Department," I yelled. "If you need help, step out where I can see you." The beam caught on branches and fog, but no one emerged. Then from deep in the trees, a voice floated back. Low, male, garbled. "Leave," just that. One word. My hand went to my gun. "Come out now." "Hands visible, nothing." Just the sound of leaves shifting. I retreated a step, angled back toward the car. That's when I noticed something I swear hadn't been there before. A set of handprints smeared on the rear passenger window. Dark red, fresh, my pulse hammered. I circled to the trunk, hesitated, then unlatched it. It popped open slow, like it was reluctant. Inside was a blanket, bundled tight. And it was moving. I drew down, heart in my throat. "Whoever's in there, keep still." "Show me your hands." The blanket writhed, then went still. My flashlight beam trembled across it. Slowly, with my free hand, I peeled it back. Nothing. Just air. The blanket deflated like it had been full of breath that leaked away. I staggered back, bile rising in my throat. And then came the sound, from all around me. Dozens of whispers rising at once from the trees. A chorus of voices I couldn't make out, overlapping, pulling at my sanity. My radio hissed with static, but no words came through. The cruiser, my one anchor of safety, felt a mile away. I forced my legs to move, backing toward it, gun trained on the dark. That's when the hazard lights on the sedan blinked off, and the engine roared to life. I hadn't touched the keys. The car lurched forward, tires squealing, and I dove aside as it barreled past me down the silent mile, disappearing into the fog. I scrambled to my cruiser, breath ragged, and tore after it. But the road stretched empty ahead. No taillights, no skid marks, nothing. When backup arrived minutes later, I was still parked there, lights flashing, heart trying to crawl out of my chest. They found no car, no evidence, no bloodied napkins, nothing but my shaken voice on the body cam footage, calling into the woods, flashlight darting, begging someone to come out. The official report lists it as an unfounded suspicious vehicle. My captain told me to chalk it up to fatigue, stress, maybe a trick of the night. But I know what I saw, and worse, I know what I heard. Sometimes when I drive past that mile now, my radio picks up interference. Static, then a low voice under the noise. Leave, the silent mile hasn't let me go. And some nights, when the fog is thick, I see hazard lights blinking in the distance, always just ahead, always waiting. I'd been working nights for nearly 6 years when I first got the call that led me to apartment 6B. I've handled homicides, domestic violence, drug overdoses, things that could make your skin crawl but at least had a logic behind them. This one didn't. This one still leaves me wondering if what I saw was even possible. It was just after 2 a.m. when dispatch sent me to a welfare check at a crumbling apartment block on the east side of town. One of the neighbors had reported screaming, loud, frantic, like someone was being murdered, they said. But by the time the call connected, the screaming had stopped. I pulled into the cracked parking lot, headlights bouncing off broken glass and overflowing dumpsters. The place was a pit. Paint peeled from the walls, half the windows were boarded up, and the buzzing of a flickering streetlight was the only sound. I radioed in, Unit 12 on scene, checking for disturbance at 324 Riverside, apartment 6B. No backup was dispatched, it was just a welfare check, after all. I climbed the stairwell, flashlight beam catching roaches scattering across the concrete steps. The smell of mildew and old grease clung to the walls. I stopped at the door marked 6B, the numbers barely hanging by rusted nails. I knocked hard. Police department. Is everything all right in there? Silence. I pressed my ear to the door. Nothing. No movement. Another knock. Louder. Ma'am, sir? Police, that's when I heard it, faint. Almost a whisper. A woman's voice just on the other side of the door. Help me. It was so soft I almost thought I imagined it. Step back from the door. I barked, trying to sound steady. I'm coming in. The knob turned easily. The door creaked open. Inside, the apartment was pitch black. No lights, no TV, no glow of electronics. Just thick darkness that swallowed my flashlight beam faster than it should have. Police. I called again, stepping inside. The smell hit me instantly. Iron and rot. Blood. The living room was barren. No furniture except a filthy couch with springs jutting through the fabric. The walls were stained yellow, streaked with what looked like handprints dragged down toward the floor. I swept the light across the room. Empty. But the voice came again. But help me. This time it was behind me. I spun, beam shaking across peeling wallpaper. Nobody there. Who's here? My voice cracked despite myself. I moved deeper down a narrow hallway. Doors on either side. The air grew colder with each step, like I was descending into a basement even though I was still on the 6th floor. The first door opened into a kitchen. Rusted sink, mold climbing the tile, refrigerator buzzing faintly though no power seemed to run anywhere else. Its door was ajar, but I didn't look inside. I couldn't. Something about the way the darkness pooled inside that fridge made my skin crawl. I shut the door and moved on. The next room was a bedroom. Mattress on the floor, stained black in the center. No sheets. On the wall above it, scrawled in something dark, were words I couldn't process at first. She lives below. I backed out, heart hammering, when the bedroom closet rattled. A scraping sound like fingernails dragging the inside of the door. I yanked it open, gun raised. Nothing. Empty. Except for the smell. Stronger now. Rotting meat, suffocating. I was when I heard movement down the hall. I turned, light beam landed at the farthest door. Bathroom. The door was shut. I moved just behind it. Steady my breathing, pressed forward. "Show me your hands." The door creaked wider on its own. The bathroom was filthy. Mold caked the tub, mirror cracked, sink. But my eyes went straight to the figure crouched in the far corner. It was a woman, pale, black hair hanging in her face. She wore a nightgown, soaked through with something dark. Her knees were pulled up to her chest. She rocked back and forth, whispering, "Help me! Help me! Help me!" I lowered my gun slightly. "Ma'am, are you hurt? Stay where you are. I'm going to get you help." I stepped close, reaching for my radio. She stopped rocking. Slowly, her head lifted. The hair fell away from her face, and I realized her mouth was sewn shut. The whispers had come from her lips, were spilling out of her throat, low and wet, like something crawling from inside. My knees almost buckled. I staggered back, gun trembling. Her eyes snapped to mine and widened back. She opened her mouth or tried to, but the stitches tore. Blood streamed down her chin as the whispering grew louder, filling the room, come from everywhere. I bolted. I don't care what anyone says, I ran. Sprinting down the hall, through the living room, out the front door. When I hit the stairwell, a step pounded after me. But when I spoke with my hand raised, the stairwell was empty. I didn't stop until I was in the parking lot, chest heat, sweat stinging my eyes. Dispatch with a shaking voice handed backup medical one. When my sergeant and 2 other units arrived, I tried to tell them what I'd seen. We went back together. Apartment 6B was empty, not empty, abandoned. The smell was gone. The stains on the walls, the mattress, the lighting, gone. It was 4 cracked walls, a bare floor. So thick it was clear nobody had lived there in years. The report filed that night lists it as unfounded disturbance. My sergeant gave me a long look and told me to take a few days off, but I know what I saw. Sometimes when I'm alone on patrol, my radio crackles with a sound that isn't static, a whisper faint threading through the noise. "Help me." And every time I hear it, I remember the stitched mouth in apartment 6B and the blood pouring down her chin. The worst part? That building was condemned 3 years before that night. Apartment 6B didn't exist anymore. I've been a cop for over 15 years. Most of that time, I've worked highway patrol. I've seen more than my share of twisted metal, mangled bodies, drunk drivers, people who never made it home. Death doesn't shock me anymore. Or at least, it didn't. But nothing prepared me for what happened out on Route 17 that night. It was just past 3 a.m., the dead stretch of night when the whole county feels like it's holding its breath. The radio was mostly quiet, and the highway lay empty except for the occasional semi plowing through. I was parked in the median, headlights off, sipping cold coffee, when dispatch crackled. Unit 21, respond to a 911 call from Route 17 near mile marker 245. Caller reported a stranded vehicle. Possible medical emergency, I acknowledged. Started the cruiser and pulled onto the blacktop. The miles rolled by, nothing but my headlights and the hum of the engine. The air felt heavier the closer I got, like the sky itself was pressing down. At mile marker 245, I saw it. A car sitting on the shoulder, hazards blinking weakly. An old maroon sedan, mid-90s, rust eating away at the doors. I parked behind it, radioed my location, then stepped out. The night air was unnervingly still. No wind, no insect noise, nothing. Just silence broken by the steady tick of the sedan's hazards. I approached the driver's side, flashlight out. The windows were fogged from the inside. I knocked on the glass. Highway patrol. "You all right in there?" At first, no response. Then slow movement. A shape shifted behind the fog. Someone was in the driver's seat. The window rolled down halfway with a squeal. A man's face appeared, thin, pale, eyes bloodshot. He looked exhausted. "Sir, you okay?" I asked. He nodded stiffly. "Car broke down. Been waiting for a tow. Did you call one?" "Yeah, hours ago. Nobody came." I studied him. Something was off. His lips were dry, cracked like he hadn't had water in days. His voice was hoarse. And his eyes, they didn't look at me. They stared past me out into the dark highway, unblinking. "You alone in the vehicle?" A pause, then, "Yes," but as he said it, I caught movement in the back seat. Just a flicker like someone ducking. I angled my flashlight into the rear window. Empty. Nothing but torn upholstery. "Mind stepping out of the car for me, sir?" He hesitated, gripping the wheel tighter. I can't." My hand went to my holster. "Why's that?" His knuckles whitened. His lips trembled. Finally, he whispered, They won't let me. The hair on my arms rose.
Who won't let you?
Before he could answer, something thudded against the inside of the trunk, a deep, heavy bang. Then another. I stepped back, drawing my weapon. "Pop the trunk now!" The man began to cry, soft, broken sobs. I told you I can't." Another slam from the trunk, hard enough to rock the car. The hazard lights flickered as though whatever was inside drained the battery with every hit. I circled to the rear, gun trained. "Who's in there?" The man's voice cracked, screaming, "Don't open it!" But my duty overrode my fear. I reached down, yanked the trunk release, the lid groaned open. My flashlight beam cut into the blackness. At first I thought it was empty. Then from the shadows inside, two pale hands shot upward, clawing at the edge of the trunk. Nails long, jagged, scraping metal. A face followed, if you can call it that. Hollow sockets where eyes should have been. A jaw unhinged far too wide, gaping in a silent scream. Its skin looked waterlogged, sagging as though it had been in the ground for weeks. I stumbled back, weapon shaking. The thing pulled itself halfway out, body contorting unnaturally, bones cracking loud in the still night. It twisted toward me, jaw dropping farther. A soundless howl ripping into my skull even though no sound reached my ears. The driver screamed too, slamming his forehead against the steering wheel again and again, blood smearing glass. I fired, once, twice, 3 times. Bullets tore through the figure, but it didn't bleed. It didn't even flinch. It only crawled forward, joints snapping backward like a spider folding itself through a crack. I turned and ran, firing as I went. The highway stretched empty, endless. My cruiser sat behind me, engine idling, but as I reached for the door handle, the radio exploded with static. And in the static, I heard it. "Don't open it." The same whisper. The same voice as the driver. I spun back just in time to see the sedan's hazard lights blink once, twice, then die completely. The car was gone. Not just the figure, not just the man. The entire sedan had vanished, leaving nothing but skid marks burned black into the shoulder. I stood there in the silence, chest heaving, gun empty. When backup arrived 20 minutes later, there was no trace. No car, no driver. No body. Just me shaking, pointing at bare asphalt. The report logged it as a false call, but I still drive Route 17 some nights. And every time I pass mile marker 245, my radio crackles, my headlights flicker, and for a heartbeat, I swear, I see the glow of hazard lights in the distance. I never stop. I never look because I know what waits in that trunk.